Welcome back to PAULY'S Perspective. Today we're talking about episode 7 of Peacemaker season 2, Like a Keith in the Night. We all knew this episode was going to be crazy, and it was. This only means that episode 8 is going to be even more nuts. I love where they went with it. Let's break it down. We of course got the confirmation that this is Earth X, the land where Hitler won the war, and the Nazis and their way of living is what took over the entire planet. They poke jokes at how dumb Chris is, like he didn't notice.
I can't believe you didn't realize we're in Nazi world.
Come on, how was I supposed to notice that?
The giant fucking mural of Hitler?
Oh, fuck, how'd I miss that?
And then they get a great action scene going on. It starts the episode off beautifully. But I'm not going to hold your hand through every bit of this episode. You got to watch it. I'm just going to talk to you about my favorite parts and the key components that I think are going to be important to know going into episode 8 and going into Man of Tomorrow. Now, starting with cameos, James Gunn has mentioned that it will not be a Superman cameo, but it's going to be something just as big that the fans are going to lose their minds over. Now, the only other character that I would care enough about to say is just as big as a Superman cameo would be, of course, Bruce Wayne. But maybe it's going to be the Lanterns. Obviously, we know that show is coming out, or it's going to be someone else from the Justice League that we haven't seen yet, because he's been so adamant. Episode 8 will directly set up Man of Tomorrow. Rick Flag Sr. is also said to become like the Nick Fury of the DCU. We'll see how that unfolds. Amanda Waller is on the back burner right now. They are going to do a series with her, but right now, Rick Flag Sr. is who's running the show. And in the newest trailer for episode 8, it actually shows the 11th Street Kids and Argus exploring the rest of the unfolding chamber, actually going into these other doors and exploring those dimensions. Rick Flag Sr. is now at the helm of that with the help of Lex Luthor and Sidney Happerson. And I'm sure that's going to be a direct way that they explain the next big villain for Man of Tomorrow. Is it going to be Brainiac or is it going to be Darkseid? I think that there's nods at Darkseid so far. How does it all connect to this unfolding chamber and all these other dimensions? Do they stumble upon Apocalypse? It might be unlikely that it's Apocalypse because apparently all these other dimensions are set to be other Earths. Particularly. An Apocalypse is not an Earth, at least not yet. As you see, these portals, they blow things back and then they suck things back in. So we're getting all of this multiversal debris that's ending up in other dimensions. Sidney Happerson does mention that that's what's happening.
You can never keep it open for more than a few minutes without it collecting dimensional detritus and eventually collapsing.
I'm very excited to see how that all connects to what happens next. There's also this very revelational scene between Leota and Judo Master, where we see them bonding and they're playing Scrabble, that dimension's version of Scrabble. Leota mentions a very scary and sad fact that the Prime Universe, our real life, is not that far off from the Nazi dimension that they've ended up in.
Sad part is, I'm not so sure this Nazi world is as different from our own world as we wish it was.
And that's, of course, a reflection of our own society and how terrible it can be here. Judo Master also helps Leota realize that it's her selfishness that has ruined her marriage. It's not her wife that's caused this tension between them.
She's crushing me, man.
Maybe you can accept her dreams. You said her dream was for the two of you to own a pet store. Can you accept that? So who's crushing who?
James Gunn has also said that Leota's story arc mirrors Chris's story arc, that they both have the same revelation at the end of season 1 and this season, and that's why they consider each other best friends, because they're both kind of going through similar things and coming out with the same type of conclusion and revelation about who they are and how they perceive things. And then we get that great scene in Chris's father's house where he's got them all gathered up now, and we start to learn that his father is not actually a Nazi in this Nazi universe, and that he hates that it's become that way. He also mentions that he's met his other self in the unfolding chamber, and he felt that something was very dangerously off about that character. And he tells Keith that as he's explaining what's going on. And we realize that he's actually a good guy. He's not a Nazi at all. He's the exact opposite of Chris's father in the Prime Universe.
Come on, we have to go.
He wasn't a Nazi.
We see how moved and touched Chris is about this. And Keith is the one that has to try to keep his cool in this situation. And his father's even talking him down, and he's listening to his father. We also have that great moment where Chris confides in them. He tells them how he killed the other Chris and that he didn't mean to and that it was an accident. But as we see Chris, he let Rick Flag Sr. beat him up. He actually feels he deserves the punishment. And then, of course, as that scene unfolds, Vigilante gets in there. He kills his father, the one he just finished admiring and learning so much about. And as they're beating up on Keith, we get to this amazing moment where John Cena, probably the best acting I've ever seen him do.
Get off him! Get off him, please!
That scream, I felt that in my soul. You can feel the demons in his character. John Cena portrayed that beautifully. It was amazing. He just can't stand to see his brother die in front of him again, so he gets him to stop and he goes over to him. And then Chris has this amazing moment where he looks at him and he goes, "What is wrong with us?" He realizes that the problem in his life is not his universe, but it's himself. It's him that's the poison. And this mirrors Harcourt and how she's perceiving her own life as well. And he calls out his whole team about doing the same thing. What are we doing? Who are we? It is us. What is wrong with us? Serious moment for a little bit before the cops break in, and now they don't have time to really conclude anything, but they have to jump through that portal. And Harcourt stays behind to shoot Keith so that he can't come after Chris in the other dimension. But the cops come in and she doesn't get to do it. She's got to bail quick. Vigilante of that universe shuts the door in a very cool way. I love Vigilante and all of his action. And then we're left with them escaping that dimension, going back into their own realm. James Gunn has mentioned that this is the origin story of Captain Triumph. And we also saw that Chris didn't have any time to change the code on the door. So Keith can absolutely still come back and enter our dimension to try to get his revenge on Chris. And I think the big spin there, of course, is going to be that Chris is going to realize he still has to kill his brother, which is going to crush him even more than he already is. So it's a very, very interesting arc here that's happening. And we don't know if this is going to be the end of Peacemaker or if it's going to be something that inspires him to be better. And I'm just very excited to see how he's implemented moving forward into these next movies. What happens with the Justice League? Is he part of any of it? Does he die before that? Or are we going to see this Peacemaker alongside some of the biggest heroes we grew up reading about in a way that we've never seen before? And I think James Gunn is just doing a great job with this. It really won me over with his story writing and his direction. This has been Paulie's Perspective. Let me know what you thought of episode 7. Who do you think the next big cameos are going to be in episode 8? And where do you see this story going? If you like this type of content, please hit that sub button for me. It's the best thing you can do to support me here at the channel. And I love hearing from all of you in the comments. So thank you so much for those who've been watching. And as always, thanks for nerding out with me.
Yeah.